Welcome to the Waldorf GridIron Club Podcast, your home for all things football at Waldorf University, the best small college football experience in America. Hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson, from the secret gridiron bunker beneath Volsdorf Field. Now, let's meet the captains of today's podcast.
All right, our captains for today on this edition of the Waldorf GridIron Podcast. We got a couple of coaches. This is the first time we doubled up on coaches, so we're kind of excited to welcome Tyler Chapa and Chase Paramore. Tyler is entering his fourth season as the defensive back coach, and you're like recruiting coordinator and stuff like that too, is that right?
Yeah, that's what they say.
What do you mean they say? Who's that?
The boss.
Oh, well, so yeah, then you are.
Yeah, I am.
Absolutely. And entering his first season with the Warriors, highly anticipated, much touted, Chase Paramore.
We've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, offensive coordinator, brand new OC. And the kids have been just
Hearing
crazy excited about it. Yeah, it's going to be
We'll get into it, I suppose.
So Coach Chapa, he came up here. He was with Coach Littrell down at Doane. And then they drug him up here to Forest City. He attended Earl Warren High School in San Antonio, Texas. And now, did you get him the job down there when Coach Littrell decided to leave? Is that how that worked?
Did I get him the job?
Yeah, I assume it was.
No way. Absolutely not. You guys did some research, though. Yeah, no, Earl Warren High School, man. We were good back in the day.
Yeah.
He's got it going right now.
Were you as good as the Warren Report?
I think I was probably, yeah. Probably.
Do you know what the Warren Report is?
No, what is that? What is that?
November 22nd, 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald popped off 3 shots at a president in Dallas. And so the Chief Justice at the time was
You know that?
Earl Warren.
Earl Warren.
Yes. Oh, see? Dang.
Wanted to
More you
make
know.
sure, they weren't shooting from the grassy knoll and all
Right.
that stuff.
Well, and then the thing is, of course, he knows he was a history education major.
There you go.
I know. That's why he was shaking his head like
Yeah.
I'm not that smart.
Well, no.
But you started as a Warrior.
I did.
Yeah, and we're going to keep hearing enough years where you can end as a Warrior. But when you were senior, first team San Antonio Express News All-Area team, first team All-District 27 in both receiver and defensive back.
Yes, sir.
Receiver.
Something funny about that is everybody here knows what a camelback is.
Oh, yeah. I do.
So I had one screwed onto my shoulder pads so I didn't have to transition on and off the field.
Really?
Yeah, but one time, Coach Littrell told me I could only put water in it, so I put purple Gatorade in it, obviously. Rebellious.
Sure, right.
Doing the opposite
Yeah.
of what you're told to do. Caught a slant pass in the chest, opened up the nozzle. White jersey.
Of course.
Purple Gatorade.
It was really foretelling the future.
Bad. Yeah, no doubt.
Right?
It's weird, but it was a bad
It
deal.
was purple in your future.
So wait
buddy.
a minute. Your high school coach was Coach Littrell.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. I know
Which Littrell? I mean, because
Josh.
was your high school football coach.
He was
went-
my 7th grade basketball coach too.
Really.
I know the Littrell.
This is something I did not know.
I know
Right?
the Littrell. Yes, sir.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So your senior season, you joined up for 44 tackles, 5 pass breakups, 6 interceptions. That's very McCoy Yakelish of you.
Wow.
And
You
you
had that many tackles?
Yeah. Well,
don't
that's
know.
what
He
the
brought that
stats said.
I think I
never
just
researched.
I just push people out of
That
bounds.
was probably your huddle profile or something
Yeah.
like that. You lied.
He's also told people that they were like the class treasurer and the lead mezzo-soprano. So we've got some statistical anomalies going on.
Yeah, sometimes my facts aren't great. But you had 23 receptions for 407 yards. And so then you don't go too far. Abilene Christian University joined the Wildcats. You played 6 games as a freshman with 2 solo tackles and an interception. And then as a sophomore, 10 out of 11 games, 52 tackles, 40 of them solo, 2 pick sixes against Concordia, Alabama, and Pittsburgh State.
How many Concordias are there?
There's got to be 1,000 of them.
Yeah, there's 1,000.
Why is that such a popular name?
Concordia?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I didn't research
What is
No, and I didn't
mean?
expect that you would know that I would ask the random question about Concordias. But that is kind of weird, isn't it? Because we had Coach Ani, and he was a Concordia
He was
Golden
a
Bear.
Concordia,
Yeah,
St.
CSP.
Paul.
And there's a
Yeah.
Concordia in
Concordia
Nebraska.
Moorhead.
And in Nebraska.
There is?
It's
That
an NAIA
seems
school in the GPAC.
Far too many Concordias. I'd like to, if Earl Warren was still around, we could do some sort of investigation on this and get a not very good answer.
Yeah.
So then you go to Doane. You were a Tiger.
With guess who?
Josh Littrell?
Josh Littrell.
Josh Littrell, yeah. So you follow Coach Littrell up to
Big
Doane.
Littrell guy.
Your senior season, you went 9-2, 8-1 in the GPAC, which that's a big deal. I mean, that's quite a conference.
We were 8-0, I think, going into Morningside,
Yeah,
and then we got crushed
yeah.
in the conference championship game. But yeah, it was fun.
Well, that's
It's good football.
getting crushed, or
That's no. But that's what introduced me to the NAIA, though. I didn't know what NAIA football was.
Oh yeah. And then so in that year, you're honorable mention all GPAC, and then you coached 3 seasons up at Doane, defensive back primarily, and it says you did do some running back coaches.
I did running backs, yes.
So you were wide receiver, and they just kind of said, "Hey, Chops, get over there."
Well, so that's the only position that was available is the running backs coach, and I wanted to coach, so I just said I can learn it.
Who'd you learn from?
YouTube.
YouTube has everything.
Seriously.
Absolutely everything, and that brings you up to Waldorf University.
Yep.
Tell us how that happened. And I know. What
Yeah, well, you know where this is going to go. So I was an intern at Doane, and I was getting paid, $9,000 a year.
Okay.
Which isn't a lot.
big money.
For you guys out there. And Coach Littrell called me one day and said he had a GA spot open on the defensive backs position. And it was pretty much the same kind of pay, but the perk was I was getting my master's degree.
Yeah.
And so, it was supposed to be a 2-year deal. And, he left and Coach Finley got hired and he saw something in me and hired me full time.
There you go. Yeah, and that's a press release on the website.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, and I'm glad that he
Yeah.
did because I didn't want to leave it.
Yeah,
So you looked at the website and said,
I did.
Tyler Chapa hired full time as defensive backs coach.
Yep, I like to read the articles.
All right, well, great. Obviously,
Yeah.
we're not just happy, but we're blessed to have you. So we're going to switch gears and
But before you do, by the way, though, speaking of, because it is a blessing. We had the people call in for Father's Day, which was our last episode, and I just wanted to tell you that I felt that your I don't know if you practiced that or not, but it was very well done. I was impressed.
really?
Yeah.
I was driving.
Fortunately, we had folks that had spoken highly of you, so it was pretty slick to slide that in there, and then it almost seemed like a feature, like a Chapa feature, So
my parents have been divorced pretty much my whole life, so I've had my stepdad in my life since I was like 11.
Yeah.
And then my brother he was a father. I mean, his
father figure.
Your uncle.
No, my nephew is
Your
about 3 years old now.
Oh.
So he is a father. That's
Oh.
why I wished him a happy
Oh, I got it.
Oh yeah, because Tony,
Your brother. Yeah, because you
brother
said
Tony.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, we'll get into family here in a little bit.
Yep, coming up.
Oh, absolutely.
But next.
Next, our first year, our newbie. Were you hired before Coach Ani?
I was about a week before.
Oh, so you're
Senior.
definitely not low
Definitely
man.
senior. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
Yeah.
the. But our new offensive coordinator, and if you guys have
In the
listened
recession, he's not the low man on the totem pole. He's like, sorry, Concordia.
wherever you're from. But and if you've listened to this podcast before, normally we'll ask our offensive kids like, hey, tell me about this new offense, and man, they light up and they start talking about it. But the really cool part is our defensive kids are like, man, we're gonna make some noise this year. This is great. So the man, Coach Chase Paramore, he's our offensive coordinator, brand new quarterbacks coach this season as well. Hails from Dothan, Alabama. That's the far southeast corner of Alabama for you Iowans that are listening to this. And you went to Providence Christian?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Yeah. And what were they? Were they the Storm?
No, they were the Eagles.
Eagles.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the peanut capital of the world. Did you know that?
Boiled peanuts, probably.
It is.
thought that was
Unfortunately,
Idaho.
there's no peanuts up here hardly. Can't find any boiled one.
No, there's no boiled. There's a reason for that.
That screams business opportunity. I mean, really.
People love them down there.
I'm telling you that, and a McDonald's in Forest City, and you'd be a millionaire.
Million. Well, I mean,
to Hardee's.
from all of the Waldorf kids.
It would be
No
great
doubt.
to have a McDonald's.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I think there's like some kind of weird population requirement or something like that.
Yeah, there is. I know they tried to get them for years.
Unfortunate.
Right.
So now I start thinking about peanuts, and I think about like the former president Jimmy Carter.
He was Georgia.
Well, right, but he was from Plains, Georgia. Now, is Plains very far away from Dothan?
It's probably about 2 hours.
Oh, that's not
Is that a big peanut area too? It's not the peanut capital of the world.
Of course not. There's only one of those.
Yeah,
that's right.
But that geographic region's always going to be, they do soybeans. My grandparents actually planted soybeans. I've seen a lot of those up here. But you have soybeans, cotton, and obviously peanuts. So
yeah. Do you like the spicy boiled peanuts, or what's your flavor? Because they've got more than one.
They do. Obviously, if I'm going to walk into, your local gas station in Dothan, Alabama, I'm probably going to go with the Cajun peanuts.
Okay.
I thought that was just something that they'd have everywhere, just
Really?
gas station peanuts,
Yeah.
No, sir.
But you get to Forest City and you figure out that things that you thought would be everywhere are not. And
Correct.
You also think that maybe everybody takes credit card or debit card, and
Cash is king.
my
Or check.
experience at Sally's today ended
my
with
God.
me getting cash out,
Yeah.
as did my haircut yesterday,
Okay.
to ensure I look like Cliff Kingsbury for this podcast.
Folks around here don't like paying an extra 3%. I'll tell you that
Well,
right
I
now.
can tell.
Margins are so close. That, they can't
Sally's is going to
possibly
get
do that.
every dollar
Right.
out of those
Yeah.
3 scrambled eggs and 2 pieces of
Tell
bacon.
you what, Sally's is right there on Main Street. So if you're visiting Forest City,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
want breakfast. or
Great
lunch.
hash browns.
Yep.
Great hash browns.
Free advertisement.
But you need to have, it is free, isn't it? She doesn't pay any advertising. But there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Vingy didn't either.
Well, I was there last Saturday.
See, it worked out.
Fantastic.
You advertised to yourself.
I know. It got me there.
I
went to a winery last Saturday.
You were Dothan the whole time. You're like, that's where you grew up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have you some good boiled peanuts.
And I'll tell you
So
something
is
else.
that something that you can do at home?
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
So why don't we do that?
Well, first of all, you don't take the roasted ones.
No.
They've already been
in the
processed.
shell, ready to go, and then you
Nope,
got to...
those have already been roasted too.
No, that's what I'm saying. You got to get raw.
And I don't think you will be as impressed. Like if
Have
you're
you ever
used
had
to
a raw
dry
peanut?
roasted.
Well, yeah.
Have you ever had a raw soybean?
Yeah, I'd love them, actually.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. I used to eat them when I was a kid. I just...
Okay. You probably will like raw peanut then.
So, Coach, from there, Auburn University, and there seems to be a thing in Alabama. You're either War Eagle or you're Crimson Tide. Is that something that's decided, like when you're baptized?
I would say so, and a lot of times, like for my household, my family split, so
Mhm.
Half the family's Auburn, half the family's Alabama. Funny stories. Growing up, if Auburn won the Iron Bowl, then you wouldn't see my mom for probably 2 or 3 days. So she would leave the house and go watch it with her side of the family, which was Alabama fans. Oftentimes me and my dad might go to the game or have some other plans, but we would watch it. My mom would watch it with her side of the family. If Alabama won, then she would come home and it'd be rather peaceful. If Auburn won, then me and my dad would be doing our own laundry for sure for quite some time and be cooking some great Totino's pizzas.
So I don't have any connection to this, but my cousins graduated from LSU. So they have an outside perspective of that interstate rivalry. They respect both of them, but they think that Auburn has got some sort of a problem. They don't know who they are because what's their mascot?
Well, you do. I mean, you have Albee, which is obviously the tiger.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you have that extra element of the eagle that flies around the stadium,
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty cool.
which is pretty cool. Now LSU's got Mike the Tiger who comes out and roars on the field and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but they are the Tigers,
Right.
and Alabama is the Crimson Tide,
right. But
and Auburn went
but
kind of multiplicity on that.
There, it's the whole You got Auburn, you got Alabama, and Alabama wants to like, oh, you guys have two mascots. Well, you got Alabama that's the Crimson Tide, but then all of a sudden we got a fat elephant that's walking around the sidelines. So,
yes, you do.
yes, at the end of the day, Alabama people can't decide which mascot they have. So
I got you.
Two.
Yeah.
No,
I'll say this. I love to go to Alabama, and I visited several years ago. My uncle Mike died, and he's buried at Pensacola Naval Air Station. So I went down, drove straight through, and I came out of the rest stop, and we're backing out, and I was like, "Hey, roll down the window because I got to try something." This guy gets out of his vehicle, and it's got Alabama, the big A, because in the South you only need one license plate. In the North we like two, but in the South you only need one. And I could see that he was obviously an Alabama fan, and he had the Alabama T-shirt on. He was a big dude, and he had also bib overalls. So I'm like, this is going to be perfect. And I rolled down the window, and my family was like, "What are you doing? We got to get going." And I said, "Wait for it." And I said, "Roll Tide." And he just it was like a little tiny earthquake. Shook him from the foot all the way up to he's a big dude, so it was kind of like a bowl full of jelly. Got it right up to the chin, and he was like, "Roll Tide." I mean, it's almost like when you say, to a Lutheran, "Peace be with you."
And also with you.
Exactly.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I mean, the thing about Alabama fans is, they have obviously had a very dominant past few years since Nick Saban showed up. But, I feel like that as a whole, the thing that's funny about Alabama fans is I'd say probably 3/4 of Alabama fans have probably never been to Bryant-Denny. And probably even more than that have not graduated from the University of Alabama.
See, I'm with you on this, and I'm going to take it right back here to Iowa, and then we're going to let you continue on with your line of questioning.
I got through
as
the first
prosecutor.
line.
This is a pet peeve of mine. So in Iowa, we have far too many license plates, and Andy, I think you'd appreciate that coming from
I sure do.
But there's too many license plates, but you can have a college license plate again. In a variety of other things, but then you see a lot of people that have Hawkeye license plates, and that drives me nuts because I'm like, did you graduate from Iowa? No. Did you go to Iowa? No.
They're just a fan of Iowa.
I guarantee you most of the Cyclones, like the Iowa State folks, like they probably actually went to Iowa State. They're not just lobbing on like everybody else.
You've seen the joke on Facebook where it said, I wear an Iowa State t-shirt because I went to Iowa State. You wear an Iowa t-shirt because you went to Walmart.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the license plates. And that's what you're talking about with Alabama. Yeah, you can support them. It's like their NFL team because just like Iowa, you don't have one. We don't either. So that's what we get.
Exactly.
But you know what? There's really not because, when you're talking about the difference between Auburn and University of Alabama and Iowa State, and I agree with you, but it'd be pretty easy to love the Crimson Tide because of the success that they've had, a very storied history as well.
Oh, Forrest Gump. I mean, Bear Bryant. I mean, they got cool stuff going on. I don't know Nick Saban, sure, but there's definitely a legend there. I mean,
well, and sure. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. How many kids do you see walking around in the mall that have a Steph Curry jersey on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
When did they become a Warriors fan?
When Steph
Probably when Steph Curry showed up and they started winning.
We actually have one of those in the house.
Yeah. Probably so. I call those some bandwagon fans.
Yeah.
Are we going to move on?
Yeah, let's do
thank
it.
you. All right, so we established that Coach Paramore, he got his bachelor's degree from Auburn University in history education. While he was there, he was the manager of the Auburn Student Athlete Academic Performance Center at the Louder Student Athletic Development Center. That's a big deal.
It's a big
What'd
name.
you do there? What was
Did
that?
you have a business card? Because I feel like you need a few.
At the end of the day, you've got a few options. And this gets into kind of growing up in Alabama. So, we'll get into it. Obviously, I ended up, taking a job at Faulkner University, which is NAIA school. But in the state of Alabama, you grow up and you play high school football. And you were either offered by Alabama, Auburn, or Troy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, about Jacksonville State, but people still might kind of give you the, the weird eye, if you tell them you're going to Jacksonville State. Because at the end of the day, there's 2 football teams in the state of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And, as a whole, there's not a whole lot of talk of small college football. So, I end up going to Auburn to be a student where, I was never educated on small college football. Me and some of it is I did have some knee surgeries in high school, but I went to several camps, and you'd have the Division IIIs and the NAIAs, and they'd walk up and talk to me and my dad and that kind of thing, and it was just like there was never a connection there, right? Because at the time, you grew up, like I said, you grew up in the South. It's Auburn, it's Alabama, it's SEC football, or it's no football,
Right.
So I get to Auburn, and very quickly I know I want to be a football coach. So you go the education route,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start wanting to get involved as quickly as you can in major college football. And that landscape obviously is extremely hard to get into, so you better have you a niche. And I was lucky enough to get involved with the compliance side of things, which kind of gave me a lead in to meet coaches and get an opportunity to at least get to talk ball with some quality control coaches at Auburn and really get one-on-one contact with a lot of the student athletes. So at Auburn, it boiled down to making sure that things that happened in class were productive for Auburn student athletes that would play on Saturday. So making sure that there were never any issues in class. And what's funny is my job really was not that big. It was really to make sure that the facilitation of the student athlete to that class and the success he had in that class carried forth throughout the semester. So that was, attendance and overall making sure that he passed the class.
Right.
And what's funny is, as a whole, was that a very big part of Auburn winning any games? No, but the thing that was crazy is, my first NAIA job, I was paid less than really making sure that Auburn student athletes walked to class.
Right.
Auburn paid me more to make sure their kids went to class than my first NAIA football job.
Yeah, they have a few more resources at Auburn.
Yeah.
Just a tad. But, it's an eye-opening into that world. And
Yeah. Imagine how much money you would have made if you were at Alabama.
no, probably so. They probably weren't doing very much work there either, though.
Yeah, can you change that D to
Well, no.
take an F and drop
I'm
it?
sure that never happens in
no
Nick
way.
Saban's program,
So
right?
that's a huge. Yeah. Okay. There you go. But compliance, or specifically grades matter. We've talked about it in other episodes, and that's that's your background coming from that. Look, you got to recruit the right people, and if you don't, they're not going to be able to play for you. So, like, they're the most talented athlete on the field, but however they cannot make the grade, then you're going to be in trouble because you can't play them, and then now you've got an asset that you can't use.
Correct.
Absolutely. So yeah, you'd mentioned that you went to Faulkner, the Eagles there down in Montgomery, Alabama. Tight end and defensive back coach as a GA, and then you went to SAGU, the Southern Assemblies of God University, the Lions. Waxahachie, is that right?
Yes, sir. Waxahachie.
Wow, I pronounced it right. I saw it. There's an X in there. Waxahachie.
I'm still SAGU. That's it?
Yeah,
that's it.
SAGU, and you've seen the SAGU Lions. I mean, it's a big deal. So, your first year there was what, 2018? Is that right?
2019.
2019. You went 0-10.
We sure damn did.
Yeah, and then and then under the but I'll tell you what, quick turnaround. 4-3 the next year. Of course, that's COVID year, and in 2021, 9-3. You played Sterling College in the NCCAA Victory Bowl. You guys won 31-14.
Right.
And so that's, do you think your success down there, and I didn't write down, oh yeah, you were the wide receiver, recruiting coordinator, and special teams coordinator. That obviously kind of got you noticed, at least.
Right. Well, and I'll say this. So, on the Faulkner note, and moving on from Auburn, things I did see at Auburn sometimes was how many great players didn't work out, right? So at Auburn, you see all these great players, and they transfer, and where do they end up at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at Faulkner, we had the luxury of getting quite a few of those players who Maybe it didn't quite work out at Florida State. Maybe it didn't quite work out at Western Kentucky or South Alabama. And they became Faulkner Eagles for a short time period.
Right.
And then, obviously, I was very fortunate and blessed to be hired by Shane Wasden while I was actually still in college. So my first trip to Mississippi Junior College, I was actually still in college when I began recruiting Mississippi Junior College. And my first trip to California, it was the summer after I graduated college. So I started recruiting in Los Angeles junior colleges probably when I was definitely still the same age as maybe even some of the kids in junior college. But obviously, getting that quick start really early has helped me hone the skills of recruiting junior college kids and just talking to a diversity of different kids. Obviously, we're going to recruit Iowa here. I recruited the state of Texas. I love recruiting high school kids, but, I've recruited a diverse student-athlete population because of a quick start and getting to do those things at Faulkner. And then, SAGU, the experience there is extremely it was an extremely growing experience because at the end of the day, there can be any coach that can get on the board and he can draw up numerous X's and O's and go through countless RPO or, 90s or 60s passing game, and he can explain to you why this is going to work and this and that, right? Well, I can tell you that the football is at the root of it about Jimmys and Joes, right? Not X's and O's. At Faulkner, at SAGU, there was nothing wrong with our X's and O's in 2019. I was the passing game coordinator in 2019 with the same head coach, Ron Smith. We ran conceptually probably similar concepts. Obviously we grew a little bit between 2019 and what we did last year, but there was a Jimmy's and Joe issue, right? And then what kicked in after 2019, obviously that was only his, second year on the job. So what kicks in then is the recruiting process. So between 2019 and 2021, we signed about 52 junior college players.
Wow.
And managed to get that thing turned around and have a really good run. So
That was a quick turnaround. That's great.
Yes, sir. So we enjoyed it.
Well, good. So, Chops, you've been around. You've obviously bought in and seen the Waldorf program. One of the things we love to ask the kids, and we don't get a lot of chances to ask a lot of the coaches, but what makes Waldorf different and special?
To me, and I was at Abilene Christian and then I was at Doane, and to me is the community. You walk out onto the field, and at home games especially, is when we are leading our guys out and we're walking through that tailgate, and we play at 1:00 in the afternoon, and there's parents and people from the community who essentially have no ties to Waldorf University are out there at 10:30 in the morning.
Drinking.
Getting after it, having a great time, but also interacting with our kids. And then, a memory, we're going to remember, a lot of the good games and bad games or whatever, but last year, Dickinson, right? We kind of it was a bad game for us.
Yeah, it's tough.
Parents were still out there after the game feeding our kids.
Absolutely.
Even if their kid was not there yet, they were still feeding the guys. And so, big recruiting pitch for me, especially in Iowa and Minnesota, and even the kids that come up from Texas and California, Florida, Georgia, we got them all, is like you're going to feel like you're at home here.
Yeah.
And, for those guys out of state, I think we do good jobs as coaches as having open door policy and getting to know those guys on a genuine relationship level.
Yep.
But it's also, we can't do it by ourselves. They have to be able to go into Hy-Vee and they're wearing the same shirts we are, Waldorf football, and they might get stopped and say, hey, this was a great, you guys had a great game, or whatever the case is. So, I think guys like you two, and then everybody else in the community they do a great job, I think.
Well, and that's one of the things that's extremely important, and not just because we're, GridIron members, but Troy says it best. He talks about how these kids, they show up from, Las Vegas and Florida and California and Texas, and it's like, you're ours for a few years, and we're going to take care of you. And that's one of the things we said in our Father's Day episode, which was kind of a shooting from the hip, but I think it came out pretty well, our last episode. But it was kind of, that was one of the things that it's hard to tell those kids that, and it's probably more important from the parents, and we want to keep hammering that home, is that your kid's going to be 100 miles away, 1,300 miles away, and we're going to take care of them.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're from, Kanawha, Iowa, or if they're from Houston, Texas,
Right.
or Miami, Florida,
Yeah.
or anything like that, because our goal is to bring good kids into the community as well.
Sure.
But there's just a phenomenal support for these guys, man. And,
Yeah.
and that helps us a lot too.
Yeah, and we keep the checks are rolling in right now from the mail-in campaign. If you're listening to this podcast and you got a letter, take a few minutes and write out a check for the Waldorf GridIron Club and send it to P.O. Box 125 in Forest City, Iowa, 50436. Because what we do is that's not only it's not just the stuff, but sometimes we're going to get a kid from Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, where he's going to show up and his warmest piece of clothing is a sweatshirt, and welcome to Iowa, son.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it can get cold up
Right,
there.
Coach Paramore? It can get cold out here.
It's pretty frosty.
Right.
Well,
This was
when
his
did you
first
come
spring.
up here?
Go ahead.
Like March?
It might be embarrassing that he's going to say this, though.
Let's see. Well, Chop, when I came up here to see the campus, and
No, okay, that was different.
okay, well, I believe it was -8. When
We were driving through snow, but when we were actually out during spring ball,
I mean, negative is not a thing that you usually throw in front of a temperature in Alabama.
Well, I
Or
didn't think it
Texas.
was possible. I thought that maybe only happened when the Titanic.
Coach,
sank.
but we had to get him here, and we're like, it's not always like this.
Yeah.
You're fine.
well, during spring ball,
This is an
probably the
anomaly.
craziest thing is I go home for Easter to see my wife, and we get down there, and I'm like, oh well, it's 80 degrees, and anyway, fly back up, fly into MSP, and Coach Ani picks me up, and there's snow on the ground. I'm like, how in the world is it still snowing on Easter? But
We've had it snow on Cinco de Mayo.
This one wasn't that bad.
that's what
My
I've been
first
told.
one was bad when we had the polar vortex, and it was
yeah.
60 below zero,
Yeah.
and we couldn't even go into the office for a meeting. And my dad's calling me like, "Are you good?"
I may have to migrate south like the birds or something. We recruiting in
Yeah,
Dallas during the polar vortex.
And a kid
Yeah.
from San Antonio, Coach Chapa, so you get up to Doane and you get a taste of it. Like,
Well-
ooh, it's cold up here. And then Coach Littrell calls and says, "Hey, Chops, we got a GA position. Come on up." And it's a different ball game.
5 hours.
Yeah.
5 hours north Waldorf is from Doane, and it's way colder. But I was lucky enough, I think, though, because my mom and stepdad was stationed in Anchorage, Alaska for a while, military.
Oh yeah.
So, but I was like 6, so I,
Right.
but anyway, I've seen snow before, so I got to Doane, and I was like, yeah, this is cold. Abilene, Texas is real dusty. And then I got to Forest City, and it was in January, and it was 46 degrees, and I was there's that airport down there with a storage place.
Yeah.
A nice gentleman met me there, and I said, "Hey, man, this is beautiful."
Yeah.
And he said, "This ain't normal."
That's
I looked at my wife, and I was like,
that's too bad.
On the recruiting trail, is that something you guys ever bring up?
I always bring it up.
Yeah, like
I'm not lying at all.
you're gonna walk outside and your face
Yeah.
is gonna hurt.
You're gonna need a bigger jacket. That's
Right.
that's when Coach Philly and I go to Houston,
Gonna need a bigger jacket.
and we show them beautiful
Jaws.
pictures.
Jaws. That's exactly what I was
We're
thinking.
gonna need
Is that
a
what you
bigger
were thinking?
jacket.
No,
Oh, damn.
no, I was thinking of a normal
generational
jacket.
thing.
Yeah, no, but seriously, we go to Houston, and we have beautiful, because Iowa right now is absolutely beautiful, green,
Yeah.
trees,
Mhm.
birds,
A
everything.
lot of humidity.
Well, it's beautiful aesthetically, and
Good word.
master's degree.
I mean, that's working out. I can.
Yeah, so I tell all these. I mean, I don't lie to them. Because the thing that we don't want is for them to be here for one semester,
Yeah. Right.
and then it gets cold, and then they're like, "Coach, you never told me about this."
Right.
No, I make sure.
You don't usually play in the worst of it, though. I mean, I will say Iowa winters, at least the last several, it seems like you get into December and it's still fairly reasonable, and then all of a sudden February hits.
Well,
Even into the new year now, it's like it's not that bad.
but this year during the Dickinson game, I'm on the sidelines and I can't feel my feet. Well, and okay, one of the things I had the luxury on Father's Day of taking a player fishing over at Clear Lake. He didn't catch anything. I had a little bit more luck than that. We're not going to go into that, Troy.
Mm-hmm. I got your text.
So
I also went fishing on Father's Day. I'll just have everybody know we went trout fishing, and thank you. It was fine.
And that looked awesome.
Yeah.
I
I looked good.
You
looked
did.
good in that Facebook
You looked
picture.
like you knew what you were doing.
I did. I know what I was doing.
Yeah. I've never done trout
You see the
fishing.
little 9mm tucked into my chest? No, that's not in the picture, but it's there.
But Coach Paramore, one of the things that Jimmy Bates was talking about, and he's gonna be featured on next week's episode of the podcast. But he talks about you're a beast recruiting. I mean, he's like, this guy, I don't know what he's doing right or wrong. He said, but man, he's got some people coming in that Waldorf may or may not, even deserve. But so you went back down to Texas, and you visited the old stomping grounds at Sagoo, and we sniped a couple guys. Is that correct?
Well, we're in the process of recruiting a few guys. The thing about NAIA recruiting is it never ends.
Mm-hmm. No blackouts.
There's no blackouts. There's
You're
no,
always working behind the NCAA.
No, there's none of that. So, it's been my experience that at the end of the day, NAIA recruiting comes down to how bad you want to. It's a lot of want to. It's a lot of late nights, talking to kids in different time zones, right? And it's about connections, right? How quickly can I build a connection with the kid and with the family? It's all about making the kid feel comfortable. Because at the end of the day, yes, are we in Forest City, Iowa? Yes, but at the end of the day, it's like I tell the kids, you're not going to find a better small town community than this. You're not going to find a fan base at a small college as good as this. I mean, I was supposedly in the Lone Star State where football's God, right?
It is,
Well, the problem with Lone Star State, there's 50 other colleges playing football, right?
at least.
Right. So, we've got a nice little niche here. And you're going to have fans at your game. You're going to have people that care about you. So we won a lot of football games at Sagoo. Obviously we had the most wins in school history when you talk about NAIA wins together. But we never had the butts in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
We never had that support. Kids come here, they're going to have that. It's a big recruiting pitch of mine. It's what Coach Chapa touched on. So, yeah, is it going to be a little frosty sometimes? Sure. Am I going to touch on the cold weather? Probably so.
You need to.
Are they going to have a lot of pictures of the nearby Clear Lake? Yes. Are they going to have some updated pictures of all the greenery? Sure. Will we talk about the frost? Yes. Will I help them get some jackets and make sure they're properly accommodated? Yes. But at the end of the day, college football and NAIA recruiting, it's just got to turn into turning over every stone.
Oh, yeah. There's
a kid out there that's looking for a home that maybe he went to a college and it didn't work out. Maybe he had a situation. Maybe he had a semester where you're 18 years old and you get in college and you've been used to being in high school and you don't have a great semester and you're looking for that second chance. And that's a lot of NAIA recruiting at the end of the day. So I'm all about if a kid is willing to put in the work, he's willing to be a good teammate, he's willing to be a good person in the community, and he's willing to do the things we ask him to do. I'm all about giving a kid a second chance. And I'm also, all about finding the best player that's available. And we're going to continue to do that offensively. We're going to continue to look for really good players. That's what Coach Chapa, Coach Finley, Coach Henry have done defensively. And we're just trying to continue to push this standard as high as we can. And we're excited where we are recruiting. Just got off of Zoom today with a Snow College transfer that would be a really big addition for us.
Where's Snow College?
It's in Utah. They won the National Junior College Championship. Yep. They actually beat Northwest Mississippi, which is some of my old stomping grounds. I have a lot of friends that coach there, but they beat them, and they've got a lot of talent there, and we'd love to have some of that talent here at Waldorf. And then I was talking to a mom today from Mississippi who's got a son that's very interested in us that would be also a great addition. And one of the things I talked to her about was the fact that, yes, is this a long way from Mississippi? Sure. But are you going to find a better community for your child to go to school for, 2 years to get his degree? I don't think you're going to. And I think you would, that's what I told her. I felt like you would find a lot of the same You call it Southern hospitality, but apparently that exists in the North, especially in Forest City, Iowa.
We call it Iowa nice.
There you go,
Iowa nice. I like that.
Yeah, Iowa nice.
I like it.
That's right.
Okay, real quick, still talking football. It's like we're rebuilding the offense, and the offensive kids and the defensive kids are super, super, super excited about what Coach Paramore's doing. But on the defensive side of the ball, it's kind of like, let's see, which one of the 7 guys can I send in there that are probably going to be All-Americans?
Yeah,
one of those.
Let's talk momentarily, and I'll just say it. It appears that, it's not appear. The last couple of years, the defense has been very strong for Waldorf.
Yep.
That has not been the case for the offense. And so we have a lot of excited guys that are on offense that are looking, and we'll come back to your exotic offense and those plays and all that exciting stuff.
I shouldn't have dropped that.
But you have a very solid core of leaders and people that want to take those leaders' jobs on the defense.
And I'll just talk about the secondary for just 2 minutes.
Go ahead.
During spring ball, what we saw from the offense, we should be able to line up to every single formation known to man. Because when we play Valley City State and Dickinson State, they're motioning, they're shifting, and sometimes, at safety, I demand the entire playbook, right? So, but it's their job to get all the other guys on the same page. Well, we just got a whole bunch of training on that because we hadn't seen that before with our own offense.
You've got some very good safeties.
I've got phenomenal safeties.
We know about Mr. Yakel, right?
Yeah.
But we also had the opportunity to sit down with Will.
He hadn't even played yet. He's gonna kill.
When I saw that he was in the defense,
I'm
He
just
hasn't
gonna
even
say this.
played
I'm
yet.
excited for him. Even my wife turned to me when we're listening. We're driving down to some place, and she goes, "Holy cow!"
He's gonna choke slam somebody.
you look at Will Strickland.
My boy played safety, so we get it. We see we see what that gosh, just
And he's so smart too.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And our biggest battle, me and him, is he brought, because he was at San Diego State.
Yeah.
And so he brought his terminology over to Waldorf when we got him here, and we were kind of going back and forth because you have to have our terminology.
Right.
We're saying the same thing, just it's a different word. So
right.
But he's all.
Yeah, there's a lot of gravitas there. However, how we'll see how that plays on the field.
Yep.
Ultimately, because who knows? But pretty excited for that situation. When the dude has played in a bowl game, the NCAA level, you kind of go, okay, well, that's a cool thing to bring to Forest City.
Yeah.
And then let's see, where that happens to go. So you just have depth, and you've got a lot of solid folks, and that's pretty. So do you have all those solid folks on your side of the ball that are also saying, well, I may not be used here. Where can I be used?
Yes. Yep. And so we actually we suggested that one of our linebackers played tight end because we were and so we were pretty good at linebacker, and he went in there at tight end, and he can tell you, but he just freaking took so much pride in that, and he was he was hitting some of his former guys that he was lining up next to right in the mouth every single play.
How many games does it take for a position player of any position to, maybe with the exception of some line, to become proficient at another position? In the backfield, probably on either side. How many games?
I think in the secondary, it's more so not about your talent. It's about, do you know? Because if you bust a coverage, that's a touchdown. If you're an offensive lineman that's switching over to play D-line, you still have the linebackers and the safeties to make up for your mistakes. So for me, I always preach to the guys, if we don't give up a touchdown pass, we'll win the game. So if you're coming from receiver to come play safety, you better know. I'm not going to put you in unless you know everything you're doing. So some guys pick it up quickly. Some guys, it takes them 3 or 4 games.
And to touch off of that, you're not probably replacing a lot of corners.
No.
Because that's just a different, you're running backwards more than you run forwards.
You've got to be a different kind of guy to play corner.
Yeah.
And you have to want to play corner.
The boy that played that too. It was like, I didn't realize you ran backwards so much. Yeah.
Well, I do want to switch gears a little bit with Coach Paramore.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not going to give away any secrets because Dakota Valley,
They got it coming.
Dickinson got it coming. And they have no idea how hard they're going to get hit in the mouth by our new offense. And so
we've been telling them now for like 10 episodes.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, we want them mad.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we've also said that at the end of the day, they're going to get on the bus. And we actually talked about maybe having from the Warrior Walk folks after the game, like give everybody boxes of Kleenex, like, here, you guys have a safe trip home.
Free
But
home.
we also want them to get on their
home to your mom.
Yep,
That would be
exactly.
awesome.
Here's my cell phone.
Anymore.
Call your mom. And what are they going to say, Troy?
I don't want to play football anymore.
That was bad. Those guys were mean. They killed us. And so
I
that's
love
going to happen. So, Coach Paramore, talk a little bit about your offensive philosophy. This is your first year, your first position as offensive coordinator. Is this offense that we're going to see and be amazed by here in Warrior Nation? Is that something that is a conglomerate of everything that you've seen and learned, or is this something that you've just had in your head for a number of years because the kids are super excited about it?
When you say that, I'm sorry. I feel like you're describing like the water boy situation where like the coach has the green playbook, you know? No.
That's pretty
Do
good.
you have a green playbook
I
back
don't
in the
have a
day? Like
green
you just
playbook.
okay.
This offense will be a little bit different flavor from what you might turn on the Sagu film and see, just because we will use more 2 tight end sets. We will look into even some 13 personnel, which is 3 tight end sets. But at the end of the day, offensive football in this day and age is about painting one picture pre-snap and creating something different once the snap actually happens. And you also are wanting to create some diversity within what you're doing with your formation variations. And what I mean with that, without getting too much into it, is, how can you make a 12 personnel look appear 10 personnel, and then the very next play being a traditional 12 personnel look? So how can you have 2 tight ends in the game appear to be in, what most people would say is just a basic, doubles look, and the very next play you may be in a power formation? Because at the end of the day, a lot of defense coordinators are going to want to match you with personnel. So when I say that, if you bring in 2 big cats, they're probably going to bring in 2 big cats.
Right. So how much booth time? I know what you're saying. How much booth time do you think is required? Because I don't want you to give away anything.
Mm-hmm.
But like, how much time do you have to spend in the booth listening to defensive coordinators recognize a play so that you can throw out something that they don't recognize?
Well, I'll say this. Again, it's a credit to the coaches I've been around. It's a credit to the experiences I've had. I'm grateful for all of them. Starting off and having that opportunity to coach on the defense side of the ball with Corey Barlow at Faulkner, who played with the Eagles, and being in a defensive staff room with several Division I players. It at least molded you in some ways, and at least gave you insight into what a weekly or a practice or whatever the preparation looks like for a defensive staff, right? So I sat in there for a year and a half and listened to defensive coaches talk about how they prepare for a game.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's keying on a tight end that checks into a game, or whether it's keying on a slot or whatever, what it turned into was, if they bring in 2 tight ends, or if they bring in a tight end, then we're probably going to look at shifting the front, right? Or we're probably going to look at rolling a safety down. So what that allows, after that, after seeing that for years, and then obviously the things that Auburn did with Nick Marshall and those kind of things, but what that allows you to do is you go, okay, so how do I combat that as an offensive coordinator?
Right.
And at the end of the day, at the root of it, it still turns into the players you have.
Mm-hmm.
It turns into Jimmy Joe's, because you have to have the versatility within the athlete to be able to line somebody up at the slot, and then the next play, then be able to put a hand in the dirt and be a blocking threat.
How much with your type of offense are you still saying, please stop giving away the play?
Well, I'll say this. The NAIA way of coaching is a little bit different than what you're going to encounter at D2 and even at the FCS level for sure, and then certainly into Group of 5 and Power 5. But at the end of the day, what separates us in D2 is only 12 scholarships. But what separates us in terms of meeting time and the amount of time that we have our kids at our accessibility where we can talk to them and where we can talk football and where we can watch film is a great deal.
Oh, wow.
I don't, and Coach, I'm sure Coach.
Let me just chime in real quick.
Yeah,
It's like,
sure.
is there's a lot of coaching done on the field.
Yes.
We are coaching every single play, and that's not just in practice. That's in the game.
Yeah.
I had a player, Cam Newsome. He was a really good cornerback,
Cam.
and I kept him on my sideline. And I was talking to him from the point of when the play got in to when the play was over. Is I was always telling those guys what I thought the play. Because we watch probably way more film than them, and I'm seeing the formation and everything, and we are just constantly talking because we don't get all the meeting time that we probably need with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
You would probably assume that me and Jordan Cooper, we just you probably assume that I see him more than my wife, but I can't. For instance, at Auburn, right, all the football players, I would know that I would have a heavy morning half because they would go to the classes in the morning, and the football coaches would then take them for the afternoon into the duration of the night, say probably 10 or 11:30. In NAIA football, I don't control when Jordan Cooper goes to class. If Jordan Cooper is a junior in college and there is one business class for an advanced or intermediate communication class that's at 2:30, and he has something else at 1 o'clock, then for the entire back half of the day, I may not see Jordan Cooper except for 20 minutes for practice. So that is a major it's not an issue. It would be an obstacle that you have to overcome. I would say for defensive coaches, maybe not as hard as offense, because defensive guys, defensive football is read and react. Mm-hmm. And it's all about mentality, right? And that's what I used to preach to my guys when I was a defense coach, right? Read, react, mentality. At the end of the day, you got to decide if you're going to strike somebody or not. Okay, so offensively, I have to take the approach. I've got to tell somebody where to go, how to get there, and in some ways, to fine tune every little part of how we do that. Right. So, in doing that, an NAIA offense to me is all about: is it accessible to the kids? Can it be learned by a kid who comes in 2 weeks before the first game? Can he functionally be successful in that offense after only being in the offense for 2 weeks? Because at the end of the day, you do have somewhat a great deal of turnover with NAIA players. It just is the nature of the beast. Yep. That's also what's different about NAIA than I would say it used to be different than Division I, but with transfer portal, it's probably the same. But with them not coming in July 1st, like Division II. When they're not spending the summer with you, you have got to get kids ready to play in a very short time period. So that all goes into, again, my training and, how me and Coach Smith developed this offense. We spent a lot of time and talked to junior college coaches. How does a junior college coach develop and call an offense where a kid can come in at the last minute and be able to play and be productive on a Thursday night when maybe they got there the past Sunday?
Yeah.
So I believe that offensively what we're doing, while it might in some ways appear complex, we're trying to call it in the most simplest fashion we can, because it has to be accessible to the kids.
Right. And it does sound to me, if I step back a little bit, that it almost is an endorsement for the education that you're getting. It sounds to me like, look, if Joe Schmuckatelli's got a class at 2:30 or something at 1, I might only see him at 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I mean, they are here to get a bachelor's degree.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And so we have to find ways to work
And
around.
you guys do that.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So it begs the question, we've asked this for 10 weeks now. We think about our conference powerhouse, Iowa Wesleyan.
Okay.
Silence.
Okay, I see what you did there.
Okay.
So Mike Leach was the offensive coordinator at Iowa Wesleyan when they developed the air raid offense. And that was national, obviously, as you know. So what are we going to call this offense that every major college is going to be running in the next 10 years? Do we have a name for it yet?
Well, he said the evolve, but is that it, or is that something completely different? Did I just hear you wrong?
Well, I think at the end of the day that every offense has the nuts and bolts of what you're trying to do, but there is evolve weekly, right? Because every game calls for something a little bit different. Maybe it's just one game it may be more of an evolve. Maybe another game it may be less. But at the end of the day, we're gonna have the nuts and bolts of what we're trying to do offensively.
Yeah.
I mean, let's put the Waldorf stamp.
let's
on it.
put the stamp on it.
I don't mind woo ball.
Woo ball.
I don't mind that at all, actually.
I want to switch gears a little bit because we've talked X's and O's. We've talked about a lot of stuff, your pedigrees. Coach Chapa, let's talk a little bit about your family.
Okay, so I was actually born in Tucson, Arizona. My dad's name is Tony. My mom's name is Dory. And I have an older brother named Tony. And we've been a military family forever.
No, was that Army or Air Force?
Air Force.
Okay,
Air
all right,
Force.
got it.
And they're all retired Air Force. My dad was a
the Air
teacher.
Force came from the Army.
I don't need
All right, moving on.
I need positivity. And I got an older brother, Tony. So my parents split, I think, when I was 3.
Okay.
And my dad stayed in Arizona for a little bit, and my mom moved to Alaska, got stationed in Alaska.
Right.
There she met my stepdad, Tim, who he taught me how to throw a mean knuckleball. When I was in high school, my strikeout pitch was a knuckleball.
All right.
I was real good at that. I had an umpire stop the game because it was so good. And so, they've all, and then my dad got remarried in 2009. Sorry if that's wrong, but to my stepmom, Sonia. And so to have 4 parents that get along as well as they do, and everything I've done, football games, track, basketball, baseball, everything that I've ever done, coaching football, we have a schedule where I go to see my mom for Thanksgiving. My dad comes up here for the summer. We go to my wife's family for Christmas. So we've kind of got a rotation going, and they have supported every decision. And when I left Abilene Christian, with everything that happened, they were like the support. If I fell down, they picked me right back up, and they said, "You're good at what you're doing. You got to keep going."
So I've noticed when I see you out in the community, whether it's something up at Paddlers for the football team, there's a very pretty young lady that is.
Yes, let's talk about her.
What's going on with her?
So her and I met at Doane University. So when I did go to Doane, again, Coach Littrell said, "Do you got a girlfriend?" And I said, "No, sir, not really looking for one." And he said, "Well, our shortstop here, she played softball there." He's like, "She's the best one on our team. You should probably get to know her." And so I had her in class, and she will deny this story till the day that she dies, but she was staring at me from across the room.
Of course she was.
Yeah,
I've been staring at you the whole hour that we've been talking.
Gracious. Well, you have to. She didn't have to. And so we met there, and we've been together for 7 years and married for 2 years. And again, she's a huge reason why I'm able to coach college football, is because I brought her. She's from San Diego.
Yep.
So the climate's a little bit different than it is.
Yeah, slightly.
It's terrible
Not much
in
different,
San Diego,
but a little
from
bit.
what I've heard.
And so she's a big reason why I'm able to do what I can do.
She
have a
works
name?
for the district.
She works at a program called IJAG for
I know.
Forest City High School,
Yeah.
and she loves
Yeah,
it.
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
She started it.
Did God give her a name?
Her name's Nicole.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Her name. You can call her Nikki.
Yeah.
She would hate that.
So
I'm not
we're
gonna
very
do that.
impressed with her because what's neat about this, Andy's wife Keela is happy birthday to her, by the way.
Happy birthday.
That's right.
That's right. So
Fitty.
yeah, well, you said it, not me. Keela has been on the Board of Education for the Forest City School District for 15 years.
All that, yeah.
And I just got elected. So I get to sit by Keela, and sometimes your wife's name passes our eyes with different things with the school board, and
Yeah.
just really impressed with the program and what she's doing.
That's good. She loves working with that age group.
Yep.
Just trying to make a difference.
Yes.
Oh, she is, obviously. And so, yeah, happy birthday to my wife. This is going to air Well, the day before her little birthday soiree.
Happy
Yep.
birthday.
And so, yeah, she's
Her
she's
birthday
heart and
soiree,
soul.
which nobody that is listening to this is invited to.
No, absolutely not. Don't show up at my house.
And that is the same day as the Waldorf golf outing.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to make sure that you get out there and support them. At least bring a check.
That's for the Waldorf
Gridiron Club.
Athletic Department. It's not the
Yeah,
Gridiron,
bring a
but-
check for the
yeah.
Gridiron Club.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So as we're winding down here, Coach Paramore, this was my first impression of I mean, obviously I saw you around a little bit, but at that spring game,
Yep, spring game.
there was a gentleman a little bit older, probably about my age, that had a smile on his face.
Yeah, sounded the same.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
talked funny.
Yeah.
But so anyway, tell me a little about your family, and I saw your dad at the spring game.
Yeah, he
and
was
I think,
here.
I mean, it talks quite a bit about the type of support structure that you have, not just here now, but back home.
Yeah. So my dad, Michael, was at our spring game. Let me say this: I would not be a college football coach right now without the support of my parents and my wife, Yadira. Would not be here. There's no doubt about it. My parents have been absolutely incredible in this entire process, because let me tell you something, as Coach Chapa alluded to, this is a long road to hoe, okay, to be a college football coach.
Yes.
There's been a lot of months where I might have been a little short on some rent here or there. And
Amen on that.
amen.
You call.
Right?
Just give us a call.
Small college coaches know exactly what I'm talking about. And the thing for me and my family was as soon as I got into college football, there was somewhat of an expectation that I would try to stay in college football for as long as the good Lord would let me. And my family been a huge part of that. And I can't say thank you enough to them. Obviously, I was a little bit late on the Father's Day podcast, but again, if it was not for Michael Paramore, there would not be any Coach Paramore, because I would have long since taken one of these lucrative jobs in Texas high school, making way more money. But
Teaching history.
coaching college football, and driving a truck, much like yours.
All right.
Yeah.
You have a nice
At the end of the day, you have to have the support of your family. And I found a great woman in a girl named Yadira from Ennis, Texas.
Yadira.
Yadira.
I love that name.
Yadira, yeah.
How do you
Sir.
spell that?
Yadira.
She's pretty as the day is long, a lot like Coach Chapa's
she
wife.
is pretty good looking. I'm not gonna lie.
And
I
I'll
think
tell
he had
you
a
what-
question mark on the end of that name, though.
So she seems like a pretty positive person.
She is. She is.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of her. She's actually going to be working in Waldorf admissions. She was a higher education advisor in Grand Prairie ISD, which is one of the better school districts in the DFW area. And she was all for moving to northern Iowa. And that's quite a feat for a girl who's lived her whole life in Dallas. So really proud of her, and really thankful to my family and everybody who's been a part of this journey getting to Forest City, Iowa.
This has been great, having two coaches here talking a couple different sides of the ball and things like that, and getting into some X's and O's. The arm hair standing up a little bit, and I'll tell you what, we have quality throughout this organization that we call Waldorf football, from Coach Finley down to the guy that washes jocks. And so I'll tell you what, I'm super excited, guys. Thanks so much for joining us today on this episode of the Waldorf GridIron Podcast. Remember, folks, we need your help. We need your support. We're going to continue taking this program up to just phenomenal heights. We're going to see an offense that is going to blow people's minds. We're going to see a defense that is going to remain that stalwart in the North Star Athletic Association. So thanks, guys, for being here. Tyler Chapa, Chase Paramore, our coaches, and for Troy Thompson and Andy Buffington, thanks for listening, and go Warriors. You can join the Waldorf GridIron Club today by sending a check to the Waldorf GridIron Club, P.O. Box 125, Forest City, Iowa 50436.
Or message us by visiting and like our Facebook page, Waldorf GridIron Club, or email us at waldorfgridironclub@gmail.com.
Or it's as easy as clicking on the Support the Show link on your phone. Become a patron of the Gridiron Club by choosing to support the program monthly. $100 is the Black membership at $9 a month.
The $250 level is Purple at $25 a month.
$500 is the Warrior membership at $45 a month.
The All-Conference level is $750 or $65 a month.
$1,000 is the All-American membership at $85 a month.
The Champion level is $125 a month, and that's $1,500 a year.
$2,500 is the Hall of Fame membership.
The Waldorf GridIron Club podcast is hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson. Produced by Sunnyside Farmstead Studios in beautiful rural Forest City, Iowa. The music is by Christian Leo. The Waldorf GridIron Club is a nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to the football student athletes of Waldorf University. Our mission is to assist the program in maintaining the best small college football experience in America.